I don't really know who the message is to. Is it to Keon? Because that stuff could be behind closed doors. They already tried the public, criticism of him. Didn't seem to work. Then he had his off the field issues. Now they're publicly in love. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for being with me today. As always, we ask you, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with your friends. We always appreciate that. Jenna and Dan getting a veteran day off. We've got the free agency coming up. They're getting themselves ready. In fact, Jenna doing some research today on a podcast we're going to do on Wednesday where we talk about the Bills offense, stay and go, what moves they will or should make leading into free agency. So be ready for that. This is the League Podcast brought to you by Stellar Roofing, Windows and Siding. Expect a stellar job every time. We are coming to you from the Connors and Ferris podcast studio. We're proud to be here with more content for the Bills on this show. We're going to look at the latest moves in the NFL, including franchise tags, the guys who may be available in trade, some intriguing names coming up. So we'll talk about that a little bit. There was a report by the NFL Network, and of course, it involves Keon Coleman, the man everybody in the NFL seems to find a way to talk about, and it involves his relationship with the team and what maybe the Bills are saying. So we'll have that for you. And we have a special guest. This is a guy who knows this franchise as well as anybody ever. I mean, he's covered this team, God, so long. It's as long as I have. Maybe more, depending on how you look at it. His name is Sal Maiorana from the Democrat and Chronicle. If you see him on Twitter, he is the bitter Twitter. Usually that's about his New York Yankees that he loves, but on the Bills. The man knows his stuff, has big opinions, and he's been writing and covering the team for 4 decades. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. Sal, always entertaining about the moves the Bills made, where they'll go going into free agency and into the draft. So Sal is coming up. Let's begin with some of the news of the day. Well, Kyler Murray just got released. Isn't it great for Bills fans to not be in the quarterback business? Because there would have been a time fans would be like, oh, let's pick up Kyler Murray. And somebody's going to do it. Probably the Jets, maybe. I don't know, maybe Miami. Like somebody's going to pick him up because you get him dirt cheap. Because this is sort of like a Russell Wilson deal. They want you out of the building. They'll take the big cap hit, and the next team gets him for cheap. Good luck with Kyler Murray. Somebody's going to pick him up and give him a shot. I don't know if it's guaranteed he'll be a starter, but he's going to get picked up. It just didn't work. I could see Tua ending up in Arizona. I don't know why. That just feels like a good spot for him, though. You go to Arizona and you got a division with the Niners, the champion Seahawks, and the Rams. Good luck with that. But, they're taking their medicine on the Kyler Murray thing that eventually is just not working out. And, the other moves today, Breece Hall's getting the franchise tag from the Jets. I think we kind of expected that. They've gotten rid of other players. They want to keep him. I think they'll get him signed to a long-term deal, but we will see. We know George Pickens already got the tag. That was from the Cowboys. We'll see how that works out. I think that could last for a while because I'm sure he wants his long-term deal. Kyle Pitts in Atlanta. No tag on Trey Hendrickson. And that's a guy. Here's a guy that Bills fans had talked about a long time because the thought was they could trade him for whatever they were going to do. And they didn't do that. Then he ends up coming back to Cincinnati after the mess they made of that. And he's a free agent. He's a pass rusher. If this was the old 4-3 defense, I think I'd be in on this at the right number. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know how he fits in a Jim Leonard defense, right? I just don't think it makes as much sense. It would be something to go for a pass rusher, but it doesn't fit. I mean, think about it. It's penetrating tackles in the front of a 3-4, at least on the first down. Now, that's maybe not what you're doing when you bring more people to the line of scrimmage, but it's a lot of people, a lot of money to pay a guy to be a pass rusher from the edge. And that doesn't seem to be the way he would play. I don't know if he could be a stand-up guy on the outside, much like Greg Rousseau is going to have to do in this defense. So we'll see, but he's out there. The guy I like, and a lot of people like, the Vikings throwing it out there. They are open to trading Jonathan Grenard. Now, the guy was really good, not as good last year. He had some injuries. His sack numbers were down. He had a lot of pressures, though. Minnesota's got a lot of cap issues. They're $43 million over. He's got 2 years left on his deal. I think, honestly, it's one of those deals you probably have to give up the assets because Minnesota's going to take the big hit on it. Most of the money on this contract going forward is not guaranteed. In all likelihood, if you made a trade for a guy like Grenard who fits, that's what Flores does. He does the same sort of defense that Jim Leonard does. He's super aggressive. This guy had, 20 some odd sacks, 12 and a half sacks in 2024. I think if you traded for him, it would probably be to redo his deal, but we'll see, right? I mean, there's a younger-ish pass rusher who's got a lot of juice, and Minnesota needs to clear up some cap. So let's see. He had a shoulder injury last year. That's the other thing. Khalil Mack says he's going to play again. UB guy, that's great. He's 35. I'm not interested in him. I think he might go back to the Chargers. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. And by the way, the Bills aren't playing any international games this year. I think basically they're all assigned, and the ones that are still out there for an opponent, the Bills don't play that team. So staying in the States this year with 9 home games and all the fun at the new stadium and a taxing travel schedule on the road. I mean, you're going to Denver, you're going to Minnesota, you're going to Green Bay, you're going to Vegas, you're going to LA, plus the division games and all. So a lot of travel. Dan and Jenna are going to have quite a draft this year to see who gets to travel with me and hear all the stories. All right. A lot of Keon talk. All the time it's Keon. And that's the Bills doing that. Let's be honest. There's a message they want to get out there. I don't really know who the message is to. Is it to Keon? Because that stuff could be behind closed doors. They already tried the public, criticism of him. Didn't seem to work. Then he had his off the field issues. Now they're publicly in love. I can't believe this is all just making up for Terry Pagula's comments when they announced or talked about the firing of Sean McDermott. But Cameron Wolf's a good reporter. He works for the NFL Network. Good guy. We see him all the time. He covers the Bills. He had a report at the end of the NFL Combine, asked about different things around the league, and I'll let you listen to it. Here's what he said about the Bills, and he said, a lot of the talk has been about Keon. Take a listen.
But one guy they do not want to trade at this time is receiver Keon Coleman. I talked with their general manager, Brandon Beane, and their head coach, Joe Brady. They both were adamant they think Keon Coleman is going to have the best season of his career, and they don't want to trade him. And I'm told that Beane and Brady both met with Coleman's agent at the Combine, told him something similar, shared how they believed in him and what his plan was to have a big 2026. I'm told Coleman's agent also met with Bills owner Terry Pagula, who told him how much he loved Keon as well. And so it's going to take trust. Last year was rough. A couple healthy scratches because Keon had issues with oversleeping and being late. Keon also didn't love how he was used and maybe the opportunities he got in the scheme. They have to work together to make this thing work. So never say never on a trade, but I'm told it would likely take a day 2 pick for a team to land Coleman via trade. And so with the inconsistent first 2 seasons, there's more value right now to the Bills than probably elsewhere. As for Coleman, I'm told he's locked in and having a great year 3, not really worried about the outside noise regarding trades, and uber confident he can still be a consistent impact player.
All right, there's a few things in there. First of all, the agent, I think a lot of this stuff comes from the agents. Terry saying he loves Keon. Am I missing something? Didn't Terry Pagula basically try to push the blame off on the coaches instead of Brandon Beane for drafting Keon in the first place? And now he loves him. And don't give me this, loves him as a guy, doesn't like him as a player, or the other way around. Like, he's a player on your team. You drafted him. You're paying him. If it really came from the owner that he loves him, jeez, you got to let the other people do their job. The Bills, as you guys know, Joe Brady loves him. Brandon Beane loves him. It's not about on the field. It's been off the field. Everybody loves him. It's just a lot of talk about it. What I took from that is in the report, he said they don't want to trade him. Fine. But if they did, they would want a day 2 pick. Now, let's flesh that out. Nobody's giving you a second or a third straight up for Keon Coleman. It's just not happening. Is it part of a deal? Is there a deal where it's like Keon and a 4th for a 3rd? Right? So a team is basically getting Keon and moving back X number of spots. Could that happen? Sure. I think even the fact that there was a round attached to the report tells me, that's my opinion. I didn't ask Cam, and I wouldn't ask him. It's his report. That tells me that came from the team, somewhere from the team. It's like, hey, look, if we're going to deal him, it's going to be a day 2 pick. They like saying that. Day 2 is a long day. Day 2 is pick what? 33 all the way to, what is it? What would it be? 64, right? Right, because there's the compensatory picks go in the next round. It's a lot of picks, right? So, wait a minute, what am I saying? No, round 2, it goes 32 to 64, and then it goes to 96. So you can go to 96. God, I feel like Dan, but mine's math, not spelling. It's 2 rounds. So you're up to 96 picks. That's a lot of, that's a big range. I think it would be 3rd round. And like I said, and maybe it's the 112th pick or whatever. It's a swap. That's kind of what I'm thinking, because I don't think his value is high. It's just so much time and effort and words spent on Keon. And I don't know what they're going to do. I'll put it to you this way. They go out and get the right people at wide receiver. The world starts changing a little bit, right? And now they might look at it differently. But, man, they are certainly going all in. We love him, and we think he's going to have his best year. Well, let's be honest. The bar is not very high to have your best year, and it's year 3. So let's go, Keon. If that happens, to me, that is a bonus, because 2 years he hasn't done it. He just hasn't done it, and he's disappointed. He had to disappoint Brandon Beane. I asked Brandon Beane, I get tired of hearing the same guy. I said, has he tested your patience? That's what I asked him in the interview. And he's like, nah, and Keon's a good guy. Listen, I don't mind them publicly sticking up for the guy. He's tested their patience. He tested Adam Henry's patience. He tested Joe Brady's patience. He had to test Terry Pagula's patience, Sean McDermott. Why not? He's your 2nd round draft pick. And he's, missing meetings or late for meetings. And you didn't give him a uniform for 4 games. I mean, come on. So let's see what ends up happening. I know you guys are tired of it too. So a lot has gone on in this offseason. I mentioned Sal Maiorana. So Democrat and Chronicle in Rochester. He certainly is the longest tenured newspaper writer. He does his Believe podcast with Adam Benini in Buffalo. He's one of the Buffalo brothers with myself, and John DiTullio is the host of that show in Rochester. Sal, we like to pick on him. Sal knows his stuff. Knows his stuff. I got a chance to sit down and talk with him. He wants to be on Buffalo Plus, so we got him on the show. Here's my conversation with the Democrat and Chronicle's Sal Maiorana. We are joined by the legend, Sal Maiorana. Finally got you on the Buffalo Plus podcast.
About time.
It is.
Mean, you've been up and running for how many years?
What are we, 5?
5. We're supposed to be good pals. Two Rochester legends, and he's just getting me on now. Great.
Well, for those who don't know, and how could you be a Bills fan and not know, Sal Maiorana literally has written the books on the history, your Relentless series that you had on the Buffalo Bills. You've covered the team. When did you first start covering the team?
All right, so this is a complex question, but technically my first time in the Bills press box was 1982.
Wow.
I was a stringer for the Associated Press.
Right.
So I wasn't writing, but I was stringing. But covering the team, did a little bit when I was with the paper in Corning in the mid-'80s, but then full-time 1990 for the DNC.
Yeah, on all those years.
So you could pick either 44 years or technically full-time beat writer 37.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are looking at us and going, it's a lot,
It's
no
a
matter
lot.
what it is.
Yeah.
So you were there for the Super Bowls. You've seen this team, covered those, the drought years and all that stuff. And now, all these years that we're covering this team together, and now they make this move. Sean McDermott gone, Joe Brady in, Brandon Beane elevated. We have seen this team pivot. We have seen them rebuild. We have seen them say, fresh start. I'm going to ask you this. Do you feel like they're selling it as a continuation, but it is a more of a, I'm not going to say a rebuild, but more of a major change? Or do you think it's the opposite, that it's sort of like a total change for them because of the head coach?
I think the word I would use would be reset, because they're not doing an overhaul. If they had overhauled it, they wouldn't have picked Joe Brady. They would have brought in completely new faces, completely new coaching staff. They didn't do that. It's not, and I'm not going to say it's a half measure either. I think they're continuing what they've built, kept some continuity with some of these coaches that are back, and then we all know the defense had to change. And I don't think the defense would have changed if they kept Sean on. Ultimately, I think that's what drove this decision. I don't think it was, because you and I have talked, this might have been one of his best coaching years. This was the wrong year to do it, but I think, well, Terry Pagula, for whatever input he had on this, and Beane got to a point with this defense where we can't continue to do this. The defense is failing us. We need to change, and I think that's what fueled the firing of Sean McDermott. But like we said, they're kind of resetting with Joe Brady. Offense is fine. Offense has been no problem for them.
Is the offense fine?
Well, look, they've got a superstar quarterback. They still score a ton of points. They have the league's best running back. Their wide receiver position stunk. And that was the only reason why people think the offense isn't as good as we think. They still scored a lot of points, Mike. They still do a lot of good things.
Okay, so
you get one receiver on this team, this offense can be dynamic again.
So hold on. I'm going to move your mic here, and everybody can see your Yankees logo. So I'm going to say, I know you're a big Yankees fan. You scream and yell every time something's going on with them. I would compare a little bit to the way the Bills are offensively, the way the Yankees have been, where they put up numbers. They pile them up, and then in the big moments, they have not come through. I see that with the Bills' offense, and sometimes I know they put up numbers, but come on, this is why they've already fired Sean. They're changing the defense. I'm talking about the offense. I just wonder sometimes about them being the team that can come through in the biggest moments.
You're right. Offense has had the ball at the end of the divisional game against the Chiefs and the AFC Championship game. Didn't get the final score.
And last year.
Well, last year they did tie the game to force it to overtime.
Right.
And then the last possession
and
in
then
overtime,
the defense got to stop.
I know.
In
You're
overtime.
right. So really it is 3 years in a row.
Right.
But then look back at those games, they averaged like 28 points.
I know.
I mean, that should be good enough.
Yeah.
You know, I know you talk about, well, it wasn't good enough. Well, I mean, you scored 28 in a postseason game. That's pretty good work.
Seattle needed to score 30 to beat the Rams in the playoffs. When you need to do it, you got to come through.
But you're right. There's no denying that Josh Allen did not get them across the threshold with that last possession in these last three playoff games. But I'm sorry, they still do a lot of good things on offense.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Brady is still here.
Right.
They could have gone a different direction for sure. That's why he's still here, though, because this offense can still be very functional.
All right, so Brandon Beane calls you up, says, Sal, I want you to run the draft this year. Finally, he realizes you're the guy that should do this, because I know you're breaking down the tape. If you're drafting for the Bills this year, and if you're looking at it, they do, for a team that's been this good, they do have a lot of needs. Where are you going in the first round?
Yeah, I still think it has to be defense, and I know hot wide receiver is a major hot-button topic, but I think you can get the receiver. Now, I just talked to a draft analyst for NFL.com, Chad Reuter. He said in his mock drafts, he wants the Bills to trade up to get a receiver. How high they go, he's not quite sure. Maybe into the teens, and who's there, we don't know. I don't know if I'm doing that, because the Bills have only got 5 legitimate draft picks in this draft. They have 2 7th rounders nobody cares about 7th rounders. They're just, all they are is fodder. Those guys don't make the team, they do nothing. So they've only got 5 picks, 1 in each of the first 5 rounds. I don't think you could be trading away picks to go up and get a wide receiver in the mid-teens. So I think defense, believe it or not, still has to be the way they go, only because they've changed the scheme. And they've got to find certain pieces to get into this defense. They got some guys that are coming back that I think are going to transition just fine, but they probably need an edge rusher. I've been saying they need a nose tackle because no matter what Bean says, they don't have one on the team right now. I don't think Deion Walker is their nose tackle. I don't think, who's the kid, Tommy A, whatever, I can't pronounce his last name. I guess technically they think he could be, but who the hell is he? I mean, come on, what's he? I think they need a nose tackle. If Caden McDonald was there for Ohio State, I'm jumping on that.
Man, just imagine the response from Bills fans if the first draft pick is a nose tackle.
Look, if you want to build your team, if they're changing to a 3-4 scheme, they do not have a nose tackle. Now, again, this can all change once free agency. They could very easily find a veteran guy to plug in at nose, and this conversation becomes moot.
Right.
And they're not picking a nose tackle. They may not even be picking an edge rusher, depending on what happens in free agency. But I think overall, it's got to be a defensive player.
So safety is also a position of need. Certainly that second safety to know who's going to be there. You've talked about it, we've talked about it, and now Brandon Beane talked about it. Taron Johnson maybe moving to that position. I think there's always these players. It's like, could Trey White be a safety? Could this guy? I felt that way, you felt that way, and it looks like the team might feel that way too.
Well, look, he costs a lot of money, and releasing him is going to create a big salary cap. But they got to find a way to keep him on the team. I think at least for this year, he has not been a good slot corner, Mike. I mean, I think his play has dipped pretty good the last 2 years, especially this year. So they got to find a way to get him out of there. I think with Taron Johnson moving to safety, now we don't know about his deep cover ability. That's probably going to be an issue. But man, if you get him out of the traffic that he plays in, right? Where it's car crashes all day long in there, get him back deep. He can come down into the box occasionally. We know he's a good tackler, although that slipped too last year. But I think that's a way to keep him on the team, keep him being a functional player, and maybe he can do it. Maybe he can cover deep.
Yeah, and also their base defense doesn't start out with a guy as a nickel corner, right?
Well, and the other thing too is,
changed.
I think the post-1 June cut for him makes a difference. So you could keep him on the roster, move him to safety, keep him on the roster through OTAs and the mini camp and all that, see how it works out. And if it just doesn't look good and you don't want him as your slot corner, then you can make the release and the hit won't be as bad.
A couple of other guys that have been around, Milano, Trey White, even Jordan Poyer, I would say, his contract's up. What do you think of those three in terms of, do they have a future in Buffalo?
I think the only one I would take there would probably be Trey White. I mean, you're going to need backup corners. I mean, the Bills have to have Max Harrison start. He's got to win that job and stay healthy. He's their first-round pick last year. So it'd be nice to have a guy like, the way he played last year, if that can continue. He's a year older, but if he could play like that, he's gonna be cheap.
Yeah.
He will not be expensive to bring back. I'd consider that. Milano, look, there's just too much injury concern with Milano, and there was a reason why they cut his contract a year short last year. I think they had planned to move on. Now, maybe Jim Lutter thinks differently. Maybe he'll find a spot for Matt Milano, but I think Milano's going to cost more than Trey White. And for a team that needs to save some money, I think I'd take Trey White in that, of those three guys.
Last thing, they talked about the wall Sean McDermott hit, but the floor of Sean McDermott, especially the last, 5 years, has been getting in the playoffs. We're 6 years, winning a playoff game, getting to the second round, twice to the championship game. When you look at this, it's a risk to make a change when you've been this good.
Well,
in your mind, are the odds better it goes better or they fall back?
I think they fall back, actually. I think with the defensive scheme changing, I think, now I say that, and I've hated the Bills' defense for a few years, so maybe it's going to be a good thing that they're going to have some speed bumps along the way. Maybe the defense will ultimately be better, but I feel like there could be a step back before they take the necessary steps forward. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, and I very well could be. I very well could be. They're still a good team.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what they do in free agency and the draft. We'll see who they bring in here. But my sense is Patriots won't be as good as they were last year. The Bills are going to be right there. Either they stay the same or they lose in the wild card round.
And I know how much you love seeing the Patriots back in the mix.
Yeah. All you have to do is check my foul-mouthed Twitter to see what I think about the Patriots.
You're holding a mic, the Buffalo Plus mic.
I will not be foul-mouthed on the Buffalo Plus podcast.
There is an iconic photo of you.
Yes.
Where it appears that you work for us in Buffalo Plus. That photo is now being used in a book.
Yeah.
Right? Tell them about the book.
Yeah, we the DNC published with the last year of Highmark Stadium. We did kind of a history of the stadium. All throughout last year, we had one of our reporters, Emily Barnes is her name, went to every game, talked to all kinds of people, stadium workers, fans, did a story on me, in fact, just kind of capturing the essence of the last year at the stadium. My contribution was I wrote my 53, because it's 53 seasons, 53 greatest games or most interesting games that I covered or attended as a fan. So we did that, but there happens to be a picture of, we're interviewing somebody, I don't even know who it was, and my hand is up with my recorder, and your mic is right there, and it looks like I'm holding your mic. This is the picture they decided to use of showing me doing my job, is basically holding your mic. So you're everywhere, Catalana.
Well,
I can't get rid of this guy.
It does make sense.
Now your face is not in the picture. It's just your mic.
It's our brand.
Yeah, but your brand. I'm
now
repping your brand.
Now you're part of the brand. Also on the Believe podcast, you got that, and the Democrat and Chronicle, he runs the whole place. So you can read the DNC online and check out all of Sal's work. Good to finally have you on.
Well, it's about damn time I get on the Buffalo Plus mega podcast YouTube show. Fates is over here.
Sorry, Jenna's
cheering
not
away.
here.
I wish Jenna was doing the interview because Jenna is my favorite Buffalo Plus personality. But Mike, I appreciate you having me on.
And that's happy Sal, because I've seen him cranky. Usually like coming down from the press box, something goes wrong, the meal's wrong, his view is wrong. He's that guy. He's the kind of guy you want in the room because he's a little cranky. And he's cranky on Twitter. Man knows his football, and we are happy to have him as part of Buffalo Plus. I love the fact that this picture in his book, it makes it look like he's holding my microphone. So good job holding the mic there, Sal. We got you back holding the mic for Buffalo Plus. And you can read him at thedemocratandchronicle.com. He basically is holding up that newspaper. Sorry to the other people at the DNC, but Sal's the reason to read the paper, and he does a really good job. So you can check that out. All right, plenty more. I already mentioned, check out our latest podcast. We've got some life advice. Jenna got some good questions from people. You can always go to heybuffaloplus@gmail.com for questions, especially life advice, circumstances you've been in, something your husband or wife has said to you. How do you react to it? What about your young person looking for a job? How do you go about this? Anything, life advice. The people at Buffalo Plus, the three of us, will try to give it to you. So check that out coming up on the next podcast episode. And as always, make sure you're here anytime you want your Bills content. We're closing in on the beginning of free agency. There's going to be deals happening. We'll see something probably going on with Dawson Knox with his contract. We'll see how this all plays out. So always keep it close with Buffalo Plus. And when there's breaking news, we'll be live on the channel. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Keep the notifications up, and we will be there for you. As always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for being with us on the League podcast, brought to you by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. Expect a stellar job every time. Coming to you again from the place we love the most, the Connors and Ferris podcast studio. Happy to be back here again. For Dan Fates, and of course for Jenna Cottrell, I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Buffalo Plus.